Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Ali Hirji. I work at Durham College at the Center for Cybersecurity Innovation, as well as the Artificial Intelligence Hub, and I have the honor of teaching as well in the graduate program for artificial intelligence. In today's Power Hour, we're going to be taking a deep dive into the dynamics of a very well known cybersecurity company. But I want to set the context for you just a little bit because this isn't about exchanging with you on what the product lines are or what the value proposition is. Instead, it's to peel the layers a little bit further to understand what makes this company so effective in the world of security and who are the people and the thought processes behind all of its successes. You've often heard me say this. To be very specific, at the last Cyber Exchange, when I did my session with our friends from Trinidad, I mentioned that when it comes to innovation, especially in cybersecurity, it's not set in stone. It's set, if anything, in jello. The landscape is consistently changing. And you also heard me say that when it comes to the world of cybersecurity, intelligence is far more superior than brute force and strength. My guest today is a senior figure, the VP of sales at CrowdStrike. Many of you would have known CrowdStrike from their recent investigations into political related breaches, some of their investigations into the role of cybersecurity hackers in international sport, and you also would know them from their threat intelligence reports. My guest, Serge Bertini from CrowdStrike, is not only an individual with a vast experience in the world of cybersecurity, he's someone who has humbled himself to attend to the needs of the community at every level. So please join me in welcoming Serge to today's Power Hour. Serge, welcome.
Thank you, Ali. That's a great introduction and truly appreciate it.
You're always welcome. I want to get deeper into the Falcon product set, but before I do that, I've said this many times, right? Is that behind every great company are the people behind it, the people that push its force behind it. You've had an illustrious career in cybersecurity starting from 1996, if I'm not mistaken.
How about a bit earlier than that, but
probably even a little bit earlier than that. Let's get the audience to get to know you a little bit more and tell us what brought you to CrowdStrike. Let's go through your career a little.
Sure. So before I start with that, what is most important for us at CrowdStrike is the people. Okay, we all talk about working from home, the new normal, but we've always been working from home because for us, what is the most important thing at CrowdStrike is finding the people, the talent, people that are passionate about security, people that are passionate defending your asset. So for us, instead of getting the people and bring them to an office, if we find the talent, no matter where in the world, we will hire that person and will enable them to work from home. So we've been very much used to work from home for that many years. Going back about me, I started my career in the early 90s, but thank you for reminding my age. And I started as an engineer.
Right.
Okay. I went to school in the US. And then at one point I was like, you know what, security it's a new area that no one is paying attention. So I looked into technology that was enable people to get connected. And then since then, I never looked back. I look at different company. What can I bring to my customers, my client, to help them protect themselves? And I had one boss one day says like, but you work for me. And my answer back to him said like, I'm sorry, sir. I don't work for you. I work for my client. Because if I don't have client, we don't exist. And to us, it's all about educating the market, the client, and making sure that we understand their pain. We understand what they're going through and relate to them instead of saying like, hey, I've got this new shiny toy. It's going to help you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So we truly look at how to help you mitigate your risk. And it starts with the people. It starts with education. It starts with hygiene. No, I mean, I make this joke all the time, but you would never dare leave in your house in the morning without brushing your teeth.
Hopefully.
Well, secure, exactly, hopefully. But security has to be the same thing. It has to be a mental gymnastic. It's something that you remember every day to do. It's something in your DNA. Have I closed the door? Have I done this? Why have I changed my password? Have I left somebody looking behind me to this? No. It's apply simple rules will go a very, very long way. I get a new email. Do I recognize the senders? Is this for me? Is this too good to be true?
Yeah.
I want $1 million. I'm not that lucky. So if somebody sent me $1 million, the first thing I do is like delete. That type of things. So going, like to us, the important thing is finding people that are passionate about security, just like you, just like what you're doing, like educating the people and bringing them, building that community, and we call it the crowd or whatever you want to call it. But for us, it's building that community where we can exchange information, where we can exchange and reach out to us because we're here to help.
Yep.
I spend a lot of my time across the country. Last year across Canada, I did over 200,000 miles flying. So I have a car that I don't use, but I spend more time on the plane. But to me, I don't regret it because every city that I go to, I meet a lot of people and they share with me their experience and what they went through and what happened to them. And then I bring them back to them like what other people are doing because they don't feel that they're alone in this world.
Yeah.
If you go to Northern Ontario, the small in small town, or if you go in Quebec, or if you go in BC or Saskatchewan, something like that, people are happy to see because like no one come to see us because they don't feel that we're important. Where for us, we measure our success one client at a time, and sometimes we don't really care if they're another client. We're here to help. We're here to help, given the information that we've gathered through our threat intelligence team, to our threat hunters team, to help them make them better.
Fantastic. And if I can just borrow from a conversation that I had with Dr. Ali from the Cyber Science Lab at the University of Guelph on Friday, I made a statement where I said, the true measure of a person, and in this case, a company and the people behind a company, is how they treat other folks. And I have to bear testimony to this, is that the way you've engaged with myself is a true reflection of, despite your busy schedules, you take the time to engage. I want to come back to that rural-urban divide that you pointed to as well in the world of technology, but we'll park that to the side just a little bit and talk some more about client needs. When you go through the CrowdStrike literature and you look at some of the infographics and the white papers that have been published, you very constantly make this point about the evolution of cyber threats, in that you've made this very clear that hackers, malicious actors will never use the same tools to do the same things. They're going to use different tools to do more different things. And you talk about the evolution of ransomware, and that ransomware, well, typically it may have come in, for example, just through an email. There are other environments now like PowerShell scripting where they can find their realities in your environment. Can you talk to us a little bit about the evolution of cyber threats and cyber criminals?
For sure. Great topic, by the way. I mean, and we can spend, this is a discussion that you and I can have later on about this, but I'll bring you a concept. A few years back, people talk about defense in depth. Okay, so basically layer multiple level of security and everything else. But the challenge with that is that you had limitation between all of them and you have gap between all of them. So guess what? The people look for that gap and went through that gap to explore and exploit it. Okay. What we're thinking now is, how do we change that approach? And when you look at security in general, I still find some client that says it's good enough. Okay. Or I find some clients like, please give me that insurance and I'm going to install it and forget about it. Well, those are the people that the bad guys prey upon. Because if you're not monitoring, if you're not adapting, if you're not evolving, it doesn't mean buying new technology. It's monitoring, evolving, and understanding, first of all, what you have. With the proliferation of devices like your phone, like your computer, working from home, you have no idea where your perimeter is anymore. It's gone.
Right.
So now you have to create bubbles around the individuals to better protect all of them, so you understand what is going on. Okay. So if you take a look at the traditional approach, I mean, we've had AV for years, but AV is a point in time. And it means that if you discover a malicious piece of code, you tell the company created something like that and send you a DAT update file. So basically every night you send a new update and you push it to your computer and make your network very slow in itself. Okay. That is gone because 60% of the attack today are non-malware based, meaning something was misconfigured, meaning somebody left a door or window open, meaning there's a lot of different things, or a thread or something that was left unattended, or a password that was too easy to guess. Right? And that's what happened. So and what we see also is that the hacker, if you want to call them this, are very good at finding those little holes, because they just, like in the 80s, we had brute force telephone hack. Like dialing that. Now you have bot that just
automate that.
Automate all that stuff. Okay. But going back to, I'm going to give you kind of a sad story that would illustrate what I'm talking about in terms of people attacking your system and finding who you are. Okay. So I think it happened last year or the year before, but we received a call from a company that says, I'm not sure what's going on, but I've been hacked 4 times in a row, and I've got a bunch of different incident response team coming and telling me that it's clean, but they leave and the attack is still persistent. So we said, like, sure, no problem. We'll try to help you. So we sent our team of incident responder. And because our Falcon platform and our tool has the ability to deploy, I mean, literally, we can. I mean, we had another client where we deployed 120,000 devices in a matter of a weekend. Okay, so they were very impressed with our cloud approach and everything else. So we deployed on their environment. We start discovering, we start registering, they start doing some forensic. And what was interesting is not only they had one persistent attacker, but they had 6 different attacker in there: nation state, cyber activism, you name it. What was even more insane was that there were discussion between the attacker themselves, and some of them say, "Hey, I need that piece of information, but I don't know how to get it. Can you please push this payload through your system and get me that information?" So there's collaboration between the bad guys themselves. That's how nasty this business is getting. So to us, we when we talk about our mission is really to stop the breach. Okay? We really passionate about that. We'll do whatever it takes, but we have learned that the attackers themselves are also morphing on a daily basis. You talk about ransomware. I mean, there is ransomware just about every day, and everybody is falling through for them. But what happened, even when you block one, another one emerge, and they polymorph and morph themselves. So it's just about discovering the pattern, discovering that, and we do that through our threat intelligence team and also through our threat hunters. So it's just how we monitor everything.
Serge, let's work with that aspect of monitoring just a little bit.
Yeah.
And you made this very clear that no minute small piece of data goes past your team. You try and stash and log every possible element that you're seeing at the network level, at the edge level, whatever it is. And I really appreciate that, because no matter how small, nothing's too small to make a difference. As the Dalai Lama says, if you think you're too small to make a difference, try sleeping in a room with a mosquito. So I absolutely get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
So let's use that a little bit to talk about the Falcon platform, because I want to break this down a little bit. There's Falcon Insights, there's Falcon multiple different iterations of it. Why was it important for you to have within the Falcon brand so many different iterations, as opposed to providing a one-stop cloud solution with multiple services within it? Why brand it differently?
So first of all, it's one brand. Okay.
Right.
It's first of all, it's one cloud. Okay.
Okay.
So the most important thing is, CrowdStrike was built in 1991, and they make the conscious decision that it has to be built in the cloud,
Okay.
natively in the cloud. No client server, no putting virtual server in the data center. It's like, no, everything in the cloud. Okay.
Right.
Um, our CEO and co-founder was an ex McAfee.
Yep.
Okay. And he saw the problem with McAfee, and he saw the challenge that they were having at the time with EPO and everything else. And they said, like, you know what? If I'm going to go to the market on my own, I need to do something different. And people laugh at him when he says, I'm going to do everything in the cloud. But the cloud gave him a couple of things. Okay. Gave him the ability to access the information much faster.
Yeah.
The source all the information around the world, okay, much faster, with near real-time delivery and near real-time information back. Okay. So when you look at him, is like, the two problem that he was trying to solve is the complexity. Okay. The first thing, like when we talk about complexity with all the other vendor, is the number of agent that they have to install.
Yep.
Okay, and updating and everything else. And also the fact that you have to put a server and update the servers. We remove all the infrastructure away from the people. And the only thing that we decide to do is create one single agent.
Okay.
And that agent, you install it once. No need to reboot the machines. That's critical. Okay, no reboot. We keep that in mind. So that's why we deploy so quickly. And then once you have that, then you can decide, okay, do I want just next-gen AV? Do I want EDR? Do I want discovery? We added different modules to depending on the people's needs, because they may have other technology. And we're not there to say, like, replace everything. We're here to, like, augment what you have, and then you decide how you want to do and get better. So that's the power of the platform, the Falcon platform. Okay, we dare to say, like, okay, what piece are you missing, and let me fill the gap for you. Okay. So the idea behind is, like, I managed it because I used to be at McAfee also. Okay, but the biggest complaint that I had from some of my clients and some of the large clients are like, man, when I turn my machine on in the morning, I have the time to go get myself a cup of coffee, and then when I come back, everything is still loading.
You can brew your own beans and
you
come
can
back.
brew your own bean, you can roast it, you can grind it, and press it gently, and it's still loading. Okay. so this is what we changed.
Right.
This is exactly what we did, because we said, like, you know what? Fast. It's all about speed. Okay. When you look at some of the attack, an attacker can move laterally under 90 minutes when they're inside your network.
Yep.
90 minutes. Okay. We have something that we call the 1-10-60, and this is part of our MSSP or MDR, or however you want to call it. But the concept is the ability to detect something different within 1 minute, the ability to identify within 10, and then remediate within 60.
Yep.
That is the most critical thing that we can offer our customers. Within 60 minute ability to remediate whatever happened within your network.
Yep. I think when I was reading one of the Forrester reports, it made mention of the fact that that whole cycle on average takes you about 12 minutes, depending on the sophistication of the attack as well, which is a pretty impressive number to hit, given the number of malicious actors you're dealing with on a daily basis.
Yeah, and they change. The actor do change. The actor change the attack. I mean, the actor sometimes are like, oh, let's do some reconnaissance here and understand what's in there.
Right.
Oh, well, there is this technology. Oh, how do we bypass it? What do we do around it? That's the type of stuff. Remember, my agent collect about 450 different type of events. 450 different type of event. No one else does that. So it allows me to see from And on top of this, I add my threat hunters. And my threat hunters, what their goal in life is to look from the outside in, where we look from the inside out also. But they look for the unknown.
Yeah.
You talk about the
The
mosquito.
known unknowns, yeah.
The mosquitoes analogy is fantastic.
Right.
Try to sleep in a room with a mosquito, and then you'll know exactly what it is. And one mosquito will drive you nuts.
Yeah.
Well, the same thing. Like if I see something that I've never seen before, why have I not seen before? If I see Ali, that is one of my users, and I know he comes in the office from 9 to 5, and then sometime he works at home. But why is Ali suddenly launching a PowerShell?
Yeah.
Does he need a PowerShell? In itself, PowerShell is fine.
Yeah.
So I said, like, hey, I'm going to just I'm going to tag that, because I'm going to say, you know what? He's using a PowerShell. PowerShell is fine. What are the next step?
What happens after that?
So if I tag you all along, okay, because it could be somebody else that is trying to log in as you.
Yep.
I have no way to know that. Okay. But if I tag all your action, then I'm going to say, okay, from a PowerShell, he's going to launch another command. That command is fine by itself also. But the moment that you say, hey, give me the LSAS, which is all the file where reside the password, yeah, that's when I block you. So I go from green to yellow to orange to red. The moment that I know you have going to make a nefarious activity, then that's why I'm going to block you. I can contain your machine. I can segregate you. I can put you out of the network, or I can still just like monitor you and say, hey, who else is he talking to? Yeah. What is he trying to do? But I know now you're trying to infect my machine, and you try to deploy something else, or you try to exfilter some data. That's the big difference. Our job is to let you conduct your business. Right. But the moment I see an activity that deviates from the normal, that's when I raise the flag.
You know, the 3 strikes and you're out kind of rule, or the 3 strikes and you're in my eye kind of rule is very important, because you're able then to determine what is anomalous behavior, what is behavior that is not standard, and you create certain standards of activity. But I also want our audience to understand that a very crucial element of the Falcon platform is those insights and the visualizations. In today's marketplace, you know, a lot of, for example, for me at Durham College, one of the skill sets that we try to bring to our students, and one of the skill sets that we see a lot of industry folks coming to learn from us is, for example, scripting with Elk Stack, and how do you visualize using Elasticsearch, so on and so forth.
Exactly.
Can you talk to us a little bit about how does CrowdStrike, when you're getting 348 different data points, for example, like you mentioned, or 400 odd data
450.
points. There you go, 450 data points. How do you visualize that, and how do you make it into actionable insights for a threat analyst sitting, let's say, at Durham College, to look at that and say, okay, this is what this means?
So we have part of the Falcon platform is we have something called the threat graph.
Yep.
And the threat graph is a proprietary technology that we develop ourselves. And basically, it allows you to visualize everything that's going on graphically.
Yeah.
So you can see, you know, here's Ali, he started here, he launched this, he launched that, and this is how it goes. But remember, because we are harnessing the power of the cloud and the crowdsourcing at the same time, we collect over 4 trillion events per week. 4 trillion. Okay, it's
how many football fields is that, man?
It's a numbers that even in my head I can't compute.
Right.
Okay, but so we see a lot of information, and then we have multiple or many data scientists that have developed some very advanced AI, and because of the more data that we have, we train more our AI, have the ability to get that information out in a format that makes sense to the normal people. Okay? But it's not just the machine learning and the AI that does everything is also the human element that we add to that research. Because at the end of the day, it's just like, again, remember, we're looking for the best and brightest around the world. Okay. So at the end of the day, not only we have all that machine that sift through billion and trillions of events, we also have the individual that start doing their research around a particular event, around a particular, and tying to a threat intelligence. So we heard, for example, that this country has done the following things. Is it tied to any of the things that we're seeing here? Do they have the same behavior? Do they have the same pattern? Okay. Have we read in any of the blogs on the ground in a different language? Because we have, we understand them. We start to learn their motive and the content and context to make sure that we understand who are they and what they're trying to do, and apply that to our research. So the user behavior analysis is still a very much big part of what we do on a daily basis.
So once you're able to take in the user behavior analysis and you're monitoring the different agents that you have, so on and so forth, ultimately it comes to the question of, you have within the Falcon range is the incident response platform as well.
Yeah.
How is the incident response aspect automated? Because if I take an example, and many times, especially in traditional environments, and environments with, and we'll come to the finances as well, but environments with, let's say, limited resources and with limited technology, an incident response goes through a very manual process where someone reviews it, makes a recommendation on what ports to turn off or what to turn up.
Yeah.
CrowdStrike strikes a very fine balance between automation and reporting. How do you actually go about automating some of the controls?
So I'll take a step back first, because it's a great question. Think of it, for us, the most important thing at the beginning is the prevention. Okay, so what preventative measure can I take to protect from an attack? Okay, what discovery do I have to make sure that I see every single machine out there? And the machine can be in the office, can be at home, can be in the cloud. For us, we look at actually calling a machine is maybe doing a disservice, but we look at a workload. And that workload could be a virtual machine, could be a server, laptop, desktop, could be a container, Kubernetes. We don't really care. So our job is to assess, to see what you have and understand everything else. The incident response in itself, it's some of it is automated, but it's not truly automated. Okay, and what I mean by that is, remember, because I have my agent that I install one that collect all those events, I can store it. So I have the historic
data sets,
Okay, I have these, so I can go back and forth and stuff like that. So it's at that point very easy for my responder to look at all that historic and put 2 and 2 together.
Right.
Okay, so it looks like it's automated, but the automation comes from the foundation of the platform. What you put together, and then the data that you've collected and you're harnessing and you're storing, you can store it. And we also give you the ability to store all that data back into your own data lakes. So it's up to you on how you want to make this happen. But I have all that information. It's not that I have, you have a challenge, then I need to do a scan, and I need to make a copy of your hard disk, and I need to make a copy of the image, and I need to send somebody local on site, and that take a lot of time. And time is something that we don't have the luxury of when somebody's trying to attack you. Because remember, some of those guys, they can get in and out within 90 minutes, and if they're in within 90 minutes, they can expand. That you own.
Fantastic.
That's a big challenge.
Absolutely. And Serge, just for our audience, we've got about 25 more minutes, and I've got a
Sure.
couple of questions that have started coming in. So I'll factor them into the next sort of flow of our conversation. But just a heads up for those who are watching on cyberexchange.ca, you will see that there's also an infographic on the evolution of ransomware that CrowdStrike shared with us. And if you want access to it, I'll definitely post it to you for you at cyberexchange.ca. There'll also be a CrowdStrike group that will be created as part of CISO Forum, where I highly recommend you look at the life cycle of a particular attack. There's some very interesting stats there around how much it costs to buy a piece of ransomware, how many people do you need to infect before you realize a profit, and at what value.
Yeah.
There's a method to the madness that CrowdStrike breaks down very well. And as I always like to state, CrowdStrike has struck a balance between what the art and the sciences of cybersecurity. So I highly recommend you pay attention to some of that. Serge, I'm going to try and weave in a question here, and hopefully it doesn't detour us too much. And
No,
this is
I
a
mean, this is
question
great. This is a great discussion, man. I really appreciate it.
coming from you. That's something that I'm going to put on my LinkedIn resume.
Please do.
Anyway, so let's jump into it. And the question talks about the multiple sectors that CrowdStrike works with them. And it's pointing towards the fact that there are numerous instances where CrowdStrike has reported on extremely difficult situations for nation states, and you've deployed solutions in government-like entities. Are you finding that even our government entities are appreciating the cloud structure that you have, or are they still staying very rooted in on-premise solutions?
So a little bit of history about Canada, okay, and I'm a first generation immigrant to Canada. So I came to Canada in 1996, and then when I came to Canada, I couldn't find a job. Even with all my pedigree and all my career and experience, people say like, "Oh, you don't have Canadian experience."
Right.
Okay, until I find somebody that wanted to take me under their wing and say like, no, you have a lot of experience. That's when I was able to find a job. Okay, and the reason why I'm saying this is we sometimes tend to have a very insular mentality about what we do. So like, no, because I create this wrapper around my company that no one is going to be able to get into it. Okay, and I get adverse to the different technology. The cloud is something that is growing, and it's growing very fast, and people are starting to adapt even more so now than before. Okay, like a year ago, people says like, I'm looking at the cloud in 2 years, digital transformation. Guess what? COVID hit in March, and then people went to move to digital transformation in a nanosecond.
Yep.
Like project that was supposed to take 2 years got done in less than a week.
Okay.
Now, if you go back to Canada again, like 80% of Canada is, I'm going to call it SMB, small to medium business. And the biggest challenge in the SMB is they don't have enough people to monitor or to keep up to date with the latest technology and security. Okay, so what I see here is more an HR problem than a technology problem.
Interesting.
Okay, so once we can relate back this to the different government agencies and stuff like that, and they start to realizing that it's hard for me to build a SOC and have a SOC 724, 365 days, because I'm going to need at least, depending on the size of a company, anywhere between 10 people to maybe 150 people.
Yep. Where
are you going to find those people? Now, that's something for you to do, because you get training so many people on every day that the workforce is required. But going back to all those agencies and everything else, they're now starting to embrace the cloud. They're now starting to say, hey, tell me more. Tell me how you can help me, because the public aspect of being shamed for not having closed a particular port or being hacked or having data leaked, it's also very, very expensive. Somebody, if you have to publicly say that you've been, and you have to declare that you've been hacked,
yeah,
that's in the millions of dollars. Okay, and that's money that the very few people have to be able to pay for those kind of incidents, especially if you're a public company, or if you're a trusted public entity or government agency that it's supposed to protect us.
Right.
Okay. So yes, they're seriously looking at the cloud. But again, there is some conviction that, or some barrier that needs to be breaking down. And in some case, they have a lot of very talented people, but not enough of them.
Right.
So our job is to help them educate, which we do quite a lot, and show them. And then what, at the end of the day, where we start, the first thing that we start with a lot of the agencies and just about anybody is sharing a threat intelligence with them.
Yeah.
Okay. And then they subscribe to our threat intelligence because they realize, oh, you've seen this attack before because it emanated from somewhere in the Far East or somewhere else. And because of your cloud, you'll be able to bring it to us much faster. But we go further down, because not only we can say where it created, by whom, how, and this is the vector that they use to attack you.
Absolutely. And it goes back to what you said earlier on, right? Is know what you do not know. And it's the unknown unknowns that we need to be delving into. Let's take that and spin it just a little bit further into how you inquire into those unknowns. One of the most fundamental elements of CrowdStrike is the research and development team that feeds your threat intelligence, reporting your threat intelligence sector, so on and so forth. Is CrowdStrike, I guess it's a twofold question, is CrowdStrike then directly involved in engaging with law enforcement and sharing details? Or the similar part to that question is there still a bit of a difference between what the private sector sees in cybersecurity nefarious activities and how law enforcement acts on it?
No, I think law enforcement around the globe now are realizing that the partnership with the private sector is quite important, and they're realizing that they're still underfunded compared to some of the attackers. So they realize that in order, it's almost a money race. They're realizing that, like, if I may share another anecdote, people that do ransomware, it's a business. They have a bunch of people going to an office Monday to Friday or Monday to Sunday or they take whatever day, and they have a desk and they work.
That's what they do. Yeah,
that's what they do. Okay, I had not well funny and not so funny, but I had an acquaintance that says, "Hey Serge, can you help me with this?" And I says, "Absolutely. What do you need?" So, well, I got a piece of ransomware, but I can't decrypt it, and no one was able to decrypt it, and everybody's recommending to pay the ransom. At the time, it was like maybe $1,000 or something like that. It was nothing. Okay, and I said to him, like, Joe, just pay it. If you went through all those reputable companies and they all told you the same thing, that means that you too late in the circle. Even though if we can find, may as well pay it. He paid it, but about a week later, he received a FedEx envelope, and in the FedEx envelope was a survey and a gift certificate. And the survey was from the guy said, "Listen, please tell us how we did. And did we give you your keys and did it worked? And if that's the case, you can use this gift certificate."
I'll take it a step further, Serge. There were also certain groups that engage in this nefarious activity who started posting notes on their particular platform saying, "We know we've attacked you. We know it's COVID times. So now we're giving you a 30% discount because we know times are difficult to get your data back."
No, but that's the sad state of affair.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. And there's some people that have no scruples
Yeah.
that will do whatever it takes to extract that $1 that it took you so long to save, and they will take it away from you with no quandary.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to stop.
Now, this aspect of, there's any and nothing is too small to be attacked in the cyberspace brings us back to the framework and the canvas that you set right at the beginning, which was this aspect of CrowdStrike going to communities where people typically don't go to,
Yeah.
going and having engagements, because you realize quite, if you even think through the demographics and the morphology of an attacker, they are in the play either at one end they can hide in plain sight, and in another end they hide in areas where you typically wouldn't expect them to be. And I invite our audience to just take some time to see where certain nefarious actors online were found geographically, obviously with a good internet connection, but hidden in places that you wouldn't find them. Which leads me to the question, Serge, is from a access to CrowdStrike's expertise, there's a cost to that value. How do you go about ensuring that no one feels left behind? Because small to medium businesses, like you mentioned, may not be able to pay the kind of value that, say, larger enterprise can pay. How does CrowdStrike strike that balance?
It's a fine balance. I mean, for us, we try to show the value.
Yeah.
Okay. We try to explain the value. Okay. We try to talk to them about, do you have an insurer? Can the insurer pay for some of this? Okay. We try to help them look at the cost benefit. It's difficult. More the ROI is like, if something would happen to you, what will it cost? Okay. Yeah. Those guys always have some sort of contingency fund that they say, yes, I agree, I need to protect them. But when I look at how much they're paying for their AV and all the different pieces, yeah, the sum of that is still much more expensive than what we can sell them at a discount, our solution. Right. So we try to be very cost conscious with our client, and we want to make sure that they understand that we're here to hold their hands and work with them, not just like, hey, here, buy this, ciao, see you later, and never hear from us. That's not how we work. So we also have created a community of partners, resellers, VAR, whatever you want to call it, but I call them partners because we are hands in hands in this battle.
Yep.
Okay. We want to make sure that, because at the end of the day also, and this is where it gets a little bit scary, is the fact that when an attacker goes through a side door, and I mean side door like somebody remote, something like that, it's because they have something in mind. Maybe not because they want to attack them for a particular, or maybe they have something important to them. But sometime, and what I've seen quite a lot, is it becomes a stepping stone to a much larger organization, Yep. So they're playing the long game. They're going to a smaller guy because they know that he's not protected, they can't protect himself. And from there, they assume they're into somebody else that have access into a large organization to do, I don't know, some sort of maintenance in particular machine where they can dump a piece of code to access, a lot of stuff like that. This is that sort of web, that sort of intricacy between, point A to point B. You may have to go through like zigzag up and down until you get to point B. There's no direct route anymore.
Understood. I'm reminded of, and forgive me if I've got the creation wrong, but in The Wizard of Oz, wasn't there that line, is that there are lots of people without brains doing lots of thinking? And sometimes you have to know that given the sophistication that's out there, it's going to come at a certain value cost. But it's more important, folks, to know, and I think that aspect that you brought about insurance and knowing what covers you and what coverages you have, so on and so forth, is a conversation that needs to be had. I don't think folks quite understand the role that cyber insurance plays, the role that other insurances play in keeping them safe online. Extending from the same theme about staying safe online, I'm going to take a question that has come in here directly to me, and I'm going to reword it. So my apologies to who asked that question. I'm going to reword it slightly. So Serge, we're seeing that, if I can play with the name, there's a surge of interest now in, well played. See, I didn't use power surge.
That's okay.
I came up with something genuine.
I'm the surge protector.
There you go. Put that on a shirt. So we have 10 more minutes. So let's jump into this. there's been a surge of thinking around the role of AI in cybersecurity.
Yeah.
And last Friday, when I spoke to Dr. Ali, that's all we went on about is the automation aspects, the different profit algorithms that are there, the different ML sort of procedures that are in place, so on and so forth. But I want to reshape that a little bit and twist it. In your opinion, and given everything that you've seen, how can AI be used to weaponize, or to put it differently, can bad actors use AI to attack us?
Absolutely. I mean, there's whenever you create anything, medicine, life in general, you can have the good and the bad. Hopefully, the good will take over the bad.
Right.
But if I use AI to do discovery, they're going to use AI to find that port that is open. They're going to create a bot. They're going to try something else because they're lazy people. At the end, they're going to try to take the path of least resistance to get into your system. So yes, unfortunately, people could use AI for bad thing, but again, it's how well do you prepare yourself? How well your board or your company, and you can be a small business owner, and you say like, you know what, I sell widget to different companies, and I may have maybe like 12 employees. No one is going to attack me. You need to change that mentality. Anybody is susceptible of an attack because you may not know what you have, but they may say like, I may have something of importance to somebody else.
Yep.
So the idea is, take a deep look of what you have, and the same way that today you may use an MSSP to store your data in the cloud, or you may have somebody managing your website, or somebody managing your firewall. Well, find somebody that can manage also your endpoint. Find somebody that can manage just about everything and put it together. So for you can focus on what you do best and let the expert focus on the security. Because you're not going to go about hire somebody to do just security, because you just want somebody to be able to make sure that your spreadsheet are up, that your SQL are up, that your database are up, and that one person cannot do everything.
Yeah.
But if you can expand around that and have some, and then outsource it to an MSSP or an MDR or anybody like this, then you get into something a little bit. You get yourself into a better position.
From a platform perspective, it seems that CrowdStrike takes a bit of a platform agnostic approach, and you're very compatible with Windows environments, Linux environments, so on and so forth. Can you talk a little bit about how you are able to customize to different environments your solution?
What do you mean by customize?
So, for example, let's say if you have a particular firm that's using primarily Windows based,
Yeah.
right? And you have other firms that are using Linux environments, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
How easy is it for CrowdStrike to integrate in those environments, if not customize?
That's the part. It's we do it for you.
Yeah.
There's no customization. When we create an agent, we create and we create parity between our agents. So it could be your Window, it could be your Mac or your Linux. We'll give you the same capability across all of them.
Interesting.
Okay. The same thing if you are using a virtual machine on your network or on the cloud, same thing. And if you use AWS or GCP, Google or Azure, I don't really care where you're putting information. My job is to find that information that you put and to give you the same level of protection as if it was on your network. Remember what I said, your network has completely changed. There's no more perimeter.
Yep.
So the traditional firewall and everything else, people still believe in them, but I'm telling you now, like in 3 years from now, the notion of a firewall will be something completely different and probably would not exist, because everything is encrypted, and by the time you try to decrypt information, it's too late.
Yep.
But our job, because we sit on the machine and we see in near real time the activity that is emanating in and out of that machine, then I can make decision. Right. And you can be working from home or an office or on the beach in Tahiti or whatever you like to be. It's the same to me. It's just one big network.
Yep. I think the ethos behind evidence-backed decision making is really driving what you are proposing. Now we have another 7 minutes, and I'm going to take two more questions and relate it back to something that you had mentioned earlier on. And this is the aspect of, especially with this question that has come in, is what are some of the checklists that you have in place? So, for example, in most cybersecurity partnerships or security-based partnerships that companies have with organizations, there's always a breach coach at the table, or there's
Yeah.
someone who can advise you through and gives you a checklist of things you need to follow while the technical folks take care of their environment as well. What kind of checklists and advisory services do you provide to your clients?
We have a very long list, but it start in couple of things. On the advisory side, we can do emulation attack. We can do board discussion, so teaching them what is important, what they should be considering. We can do red team exercise, so basically looking at who's trying to attack you. We can, there's a slew of different things that, and then we can do, for example, the other one that is extremely popular, we do compromise assessment. So a brand new company's like, hey, can you check if there's something in my network? Or merger and acquisition. I'm about to divest, or I'm about to acquire this company. I don't know. I know everything about the financial, but I don't know about the level of security they have. Can you verify that? So yes, we can help in that space, and we have the people that are pretty good and sophisticated at finding those kind of little things.
And have a track record as
The
well.
track
And,
record
and I
also,
do
exactly.
encourage that everyone that's out there that's listening to this, and we've got over 100 folks online. There's some folks who are independent consultants, some representing different organizations. We have lots of graduate students as well that tune in during lunchtime. I cannot overestimate how important it is to maintain that track record,
Yeah.
to show what you've achieved and what you've uncovered.
And to all the grad student there, you guys have a bright, guys and gals, sorry, you have a bright future in front of you. Keep asking questions. This is the only way you're going to learn. Keep asking, because a lot of people need your help. They need to help with the protection, and a lot of people are hiring on the cybersecurity. So keep doing what you're doing, because it's needed.
Yeah. And the last question, I get the ethos behind it, but again, as true to my form, I'm going to reword it just a little bit. And this is the aspect of risk.
Yeah.
And from what I'm hearing with CrowdStrike, there's a culture of valuing and rewarding risk as well, because there is a lot of risk in the work that you're doing, the threat intel work that you're doing. Who is the right candidate, or what is the right mindset of somebody who joins your threat intelligence team? What do they need to be prepared for?
Open mind,
Yeah.
Curious, dedicated, wanting to work hard, wanting to do good, empathy, those kind of stuff. It's not the we can teach the technology, okay, but it's about like, how curious are you, what sort of inquiring mind you have, and then following through. I mean, a lot of people give up too quickly.
Yeah.
To us is, give me a puzzle with 10,000 pieces and give me a cup of coffee and let's sit down and work that puzzle. Right?
Yeah.
And then having multiple people, like, who else can I bring in here to say, like, hey, do this corner, I'm going to do that corner, and then you're going to do the middle. It's that teamwork, that camaraderie, that wanting to share, but more important, that willingness to offer yourself to somebody to help them get better.
Yeah.
And finding what people think is impossible to find, because it's not impossible to find. It's just like, do you have the desire to find it? Do you have the desire to make this better?
Yeah.
So it's yes, you can be very educated. Yes, you can be very bright. Yes, you can have all the degrees. But if you don't have the human contact, the human touch, the empathy, it might get very hard for you. Might get a job easy because you are an incredible student.
Yeah.
Okay? But you might not be able to keep that job for long because you don't know how to work in team.
Yeah. And there's a big difference between a student and a learner.
Yeah.
And I'll definitely say that that learning approach is what takes you lifelong. And Serge, you're an emblem of that, because the wealth of experience that you have, and for you to take an hour of your time to spend with me, and all of the professionals that are on this network, we really appreciate that. We've got 2 more minutes, and I want to go back to where we began from and get a little bit of more insight into our Surge Protector friend here. Can you tell us a book that is near and dear to you?
Oh gosh.
I have a feeling I know which one's coming out, but
No, there's a few. But before I go there, I want to say something important. Okay, mentoring is. I will spend as much time and dedicate as much of my time to mentoring young people, because I think it's very important. Okay, I got fortunate when I was young that I had great mentor, and I want to make sure that I do the same thing. And especially in Canada, with all the young immigrant population that we have, they need help, and I'm putting my hand out to help them out. Okay, with that, book that I like, book that is so I do a lot of reading for work, and I'm not going to bore you what I'm reading because it's all over the place. But I'm also a very passionate cook. I'm half good, but I'm good. I'm gonna, you know.
we'll arrange for me to be the judge of this.
But I also look at, and I have quite a few books. So the first one that was a little bit hard to read is
Sapiens. Yep.
So I like this because it gives me an idea in people's mind and what they're thinking. The other book that to me is a revelation, and you talk about the Dalai Lama, is I become to be passionate and empathy. Okay, that to me is the character of a human being. Okay, this is all about human rights. It's all about, how can we live together as a happy family, and not say like, oh, you this, you that. It's treat yourself or treat your next person as an equal to you, the way you want to be treated. Okay.
Absolutely.
For fun, I love Trevor Noah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I was born in North Africa. He was born in South Africa. Yeah. And the shenanigan that he went through as a kid, and his life, and what he had to do, and also being from a mixed marriage in South Africa at the time,
yep,
it's pretty insane how he survived and how he became who he become. Respect.
Yep, 100%. Okay?
And to me is, if he succeeded, everybody can succeed. It's just wanting to be dedicated to succeed. Before the last one is The Measure of My Power. Okay, this is a woman that had depression. Okay, and today, and it's very apropos with COVID and everything else, but she found her way out of depression by cooking and sharing her recipe with a lot of people. So to me is, she built her own community. And finally, this is probably the most difficult cooking book that I bought, but it's from a restaurant, and you may call me a snob here, but this is from a restaurant in northern Spain called El Cerro de Can Roca. It's 4 brothers, and again, the family and what they learned from the parents and the grandparents, and give them the passion of cooking. But this book, it's about 1,000 pages. A recipe will take me about a week to make. So it's going back to that puzzle, going to that dedication, and wanting to having a large party, large gathering, which is hard to do now, yep, but to share a meal, to break bread with other people. To me, it's there's nothing more to see a smile on somebody's face, to say like, hey, I had a good time. Yep. Okay, and for 2 hours or 3 hours, I forgot all my problem, but we had a great discussion, and yep, it's genuine. So that's for me. When you ask me like, where do I go when I'm slightly down, I bury myself in cooking.
Fantastic. Serge, before I let you go, I'm going to talk to our audience very quickly and summarize the conversation that we've had today because it's had multiple elements to it. As you know, with the Power Hour, we don't necessarily go down the sales pitch of a particular product, but we focus on the value. Today, what we learned from CrowdStrike is not just focusing on the product and the value of the product, but the people behind the product. I was reminded of this conversation with everything that Serge said, that a person was once asked, how and when did you become so smart? And the person replied, I became this smart when I realized I wasn't that smart to begin with. You need to, again, know what you do not know. When it comes to your security posture in your organization, when it comes to your career in cybersecurity, when it comes to your own consulting practices or your own practices within a SOC environment, understand one thing about the situation that you're in. You've made that choice. Now it's time for you to understand that choice. Serge, thank you for the wonderful metaphors that you applied through the world of cooking, through the world of academe, and more importantly, through the world of threat intelligence to show us the various ingredients that CrowdStrike puts together to deliver that recipe for success for a sound cybersecurity posture. And I look forward to seeing the team at CrowdStrike at the CISO Forum between November 9th and the 13th. I want to give a shout out to the team at CyberX and Cyber Exchange for making this lovely platform possible, and to Erin from CrowdStrike, who made sure that we had all the ingredients to make this a successful Power Hour and a successful 60-minute exchange. Serge, I'm going to see you in the green room. I'm going to ask you to wait and meet me there. But before we close, I'm going to turn it over to you for some closing comments before I bid the audience adieu. Serge?
Thanks, Ali. Great discussion. And I love those discussions because it makes me smile. It makes me happy because now it's talking from the heart.
Yeah.
It's building that community. To me, there's nothing like a community because the community is the people that lift you up. And again, if you, I'm very humble about this discussion because to me, it's not about discussing. Yeah, cybersecurity it's quite important and topical and everything else, but is what can we achieve as a team instead of the individual? Okay, and if somebody is out there and feel down, something like that, just reach out to any of us. Okay? We're here to help. We're here to empower. And when you look at cybersecurity, it starts with education. It starts with knowing what you don't know and knowing people that can help you.
Absolutely.
So for us is, we want to help. Yes, there's a monetary reward, but that's part of our job. That's part of the daily life. But the deep down, most of the people that you will meet at CrowdStrike has a passion to help you secure yourself.
Absolutely. It's people, process, technology, and in that order. Don't forget that. I'm proud that I was able to play a role in bringing forward a message that CrowdStrike has to the commitment to people and people's safety and security as a right. With that, I'll bid our audience an adieu.
Thank you, Ali.
And I hope to see you very shortly, where we'll be announcing the next Power Hour, which, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be this Friday with another very, very special guest. Thank you all for your time. Thank you, Team CyberX. Serge.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.